biggest regret you have over the last 17 years?
I really don't have many. I've been asked this before, and it's like, I started one company. It's this. I have like irrational confidence because like maybe other people would have quit or whatever, but everything I seem to do has seemed to work. It's been a dream. I mean, I started a company in my basement with no money, delivering newspapers, and got here. I would have been happy making 60 grand a year. Honestly, it wasn't about money. So it's hard for everything's worked. So I don't have business. I have no regrets.
All right. Side note, real quick. The ESPN Van Talk controversy. What happened?
So that was an interesting point in Barstool because Pardon My Take blew up and ESPN wanted them basically. And we're at a point, probably Dan and I more so than PFT, where he's looking, his open market value was more than what he was making here. And it's like, kind of like everybody's like, how am I going to, this is my moment too. So ESPN wanted them. I was never comfortable with the deal. But essentially what happened was, we did that deal. Why we agreed to that deal was to like, basically, okay, we can't
test it, see what happens.
Not only test it, we got to let them like stretch their legs and grow. They wanted it. Dan and PFT really wanted this deal. So it's like, okay, we'll try to make it work. And at first, ESPN just like wanted to call it like Van Talk, no Barstool in it. They essentially, what they wanted to do was test drive Dan PFT. The contracts would be up in a little bit. It's like they knew they could probably pay them more. And it was very obvious to like myself and Erica, like, we know what you're doing. So if you're going to use our talent, you better fucking call it Barstool Van Talk. So we did. Fine. This was like a year in the works. I was never comfortable with it. I always felt like they thought it was dirty, but we get there. And I don't know, a day or two after it launches.
The first episode goes.
It
was a hit?
It did well.
Okay.
I mean, they put it on, I forget, it was on like
midnight or
2
something
in the morning on ESPN2.
Yeah.
So they put it on.
They didn't even give you ESPN. They gave you ESPN2 and 1
It was just smart because you have our audience who's going to watch it. And honestly, those two guys are as talented. Dan's like the most talented, hardworking guy there is. So that he's got everything he does work. So it would have worked. And then they cancel it. They issue a press release, I believe. Or no, we found out that they were canceling it. And it all stemmed from, I talked about Sam Ponder with Dan years and years ago. On Barstool, it's locker room talk. Yeah. And we had a podcast, Pick'em Podcast, which we still do. It's like 10 years old. We'd call each other up, and we were talking just about the games, which we always did. And Sam Ponder just had a kid. And she was toting the kid all over ESPN Game Day. And we were talking about a game, and we were both going back and forth. But it was like, I don't want to see Sam Ponder's kid on game day. Nobody does. I'll die on that hill. It's like Sam Ponder's super hot, but nobody wants to see it. It's like an all-guy show. The reason she was hired is she's very attractive, knows football. Another thing I sometimes get in trouble. It's not a coincidence most sideline reporters are attractive. Doesn't mean that's the only requirement. You have to be talented, but you have to be pretty to look at. So it's like, talking her way, it's like, I don't want to see her and her kid on the sideline anymore. And I actually said she has to stop being a prude and slut it up. That's what I said.
I'm assuming she didn't like that.
We didn't know she didn't like it.
Okay.
We didn't even know.
So that's an important point. You guys never had a conversation.
Never interaction.
Okay.
So,
but obviously understandable why she didn't like that.
Totally.
Yep.
And I've said this about her in a respect. First of all, it's not calling someone a slut. I said it's semantics. I went back and looked. I called my sales guys. I just used the word a lot. It was a different time. It was a free word you could use. But I was being like, you go stop being. Yeah, so whatever. I didn't call her. It's like I said the opposite. She's got her kid but 3 years pass, 4 years pass, and the show gets launched, and she starts, according to the press reports, the crusade against us, being like, we're going to business with these guys who said this about me 4 years ago. I didn't even know what we said. We said it a lot. So that, in that actual respect, I was like, I do respect Sam Parr. She held a grudge for 4 years.
So I was going to say, she's a Dave Portnoy.
She waited for the moment, and she came in guns a-blazing and sank it. In the quote that John Skipper had.
Kill shot.
Yeah. And the quote John Skipper had was I didn't know that people would associate the Barstool Van Talk with Barstool Sports. It's like, what are you talking about? He literally said that. By the way, like 2 weeks later, resigned, Coke addiction. Best thing ever. Popping champagne bottles.
I was going to say, was that your, you had a bottle?
Great. So the Sam Ponder, where I differ from Sam Ponder, because that part, we said it. I have no problem with it. She then made up things that I didn't say and just blatant lies. So I can say, I just said what I said, and I wouldn't say it now. And she actually, the Stoolies being who they are, went back and dug up like 1,000 tweets of her calling people sluts and shit, similar language. She apologized. It's like, I've changed as a person.
Yeah, it's definitely a different world today than it was even 5 years ago.
And that's always like Deadspin, who
you love,
despise, and are the first ones to throw stones at me in the past. They deleted their entire Twitter history, all of it. And then they'd be like, we changed. I have always said, I won't delete any of my Twitter history. It's all there. It's an open book. I've said what I've said. Times are different. I wouldn't say it. Most of the shit that people dig up on me now is 5 to 10 years old, and they were meant to be jokes.
And it wasn't bad at the time, mostly. There might be one or two that people get very upset about, right? And rightfully so. But for the most part, most of it...
There's nothing I ever have said that was with the intent to make people truly feel bad, unless I hate you. But then I won't use that. Like the things I say that are trouble are people I don't know, or like just in conversation, like in a locker room environment. If I despise you, like Ross Gerber, I'm saying things to wound you on a professional level. But like the Sam Ponder thing came up so organically, and we're like talking. I would have said it in a different way, but the point, like, nobody wants to see your newborn every single week in all your segments on College Game Day. I would say it like that.
Did that show getting canceled say, fuck it, we're not going to play with the networks anymore?
Pretty much.
Okay. That's what it looks like.
Yes.
And you don't need them.
I think TV still matters.
Okay.
And I would love a network, our own network. But like we do the Barstool Sports Advisors, which I think is pretty much the best football show on TV. We tried to buy
built for the internet. Like literally built for the internet.
Yeah. They tried to say that we couldn't swear in it. Like we like to beep out the words. They're like, you can't swear. Like, all right, we're not running. We're going to keep it fresh. It'll come around. I think everything will come around. I mean, when I did the...
Is TV ready for like what I'll call the internet content? Like how you use the green screen, you have all the graphics, like TV's ready for that.
Definitely.
Okay.
And it goes backward. I mean, again, you look at everything and he did get in trouble. Like, you know, people just pick and choose. The hypocrisy of everything, which drives me nuts. Like, Jimmy Kimmel Man Show, and like that almost, if we did that, and he did get in some trouble for, I think, blackface, but if I did the Man Show, I'd never stop hearing about it, ever. I'd never get job. People, what I say and do, even though we're very clear comedy, I've always said, what people say about us is, you go into a comedy show, you don't have a ticket, you don't know who the comedian is, you hear a joke you don't like, you go into the street, you'll be like, you never believe what this guy says, and you give no context to where you heard it. That's what I feel like people do to us. I don't know how it started. I don't know what it is, because I think a lot of people now do kind of similar stuff to us, but when we say it, it hits different. I have no idea why.
Yeah, well, you just get almost labeled as people are waiting for you to say something.
And then I double down. I get in fights. Like, I don't back down. I'm never like, oops, sorry, I shouldn't have said that. It's like, fuck you. It's like a joke. If you can't take it, get the fuck out.
But is that not the right way to handle it? Like in terms of, there's some people who say something and they would immediately backtrack and almost like
fake apologies.
Yeah, and then the crowd or the mob wins, right? Versus if you say something and you mean it and you just stand the line.
Yeah, I get a lot on Twitter and anybody like, hey, when's he going to learn? You're an idiot. When are you going to do this? And I turn around, it's like, why would I change what I'm doing because it's what got us here? You know? It's like Barstool is as successful or more than I ever dreamed by being authentic and just being kind of myself. And by the way, my friends, I'm like just a combative person. And even like Kevin, who's sitting over here, is relatively new. Like, I'm pretty mean and straightforward. And then I forget about it like 5 minutes later. Like, that's how I am. People can come in and like yell at me. I don't really care. That's my personality.
That's fair.
Yeah.